He's particularly something like every day.
Yeah, I know. That I think that's the same one most of it though. Can they see? Come here quickly.
I need to sort the hair out though. My hair is a bit knotty.
Wagwan. How you doing?
What's he doing? Did you see Ethan it's fighting Cade?
Yeah. And also Nikki versus Ty. I feel like
I think Rotolo's going to smash
the collarbone match is going to be a mad one as well.
Albon. Albon.
The thing about Fight Pass is whenever you're trying to go off of something after, it just doesn't let you, which is great, really useful. I don't know what card Gordon Ryan's on MMA.
Oh, what are you talking about EBI?
No. It's funny that his name pops up on MMA cards for some random reason.
Depending on the style of the opponent, it's definite.
Oh, look, they're all here. They're all here. Hello.
Remember the share this time.
So much hair I got on me with the cats coming. We'll give everybody 2 minutes after the 7 o'clock and I'll start. I wish I could just put my wish I could make it so this was the main one. But it is what it is. I'm just going to fill this up. I'm just going to give everybody 2 minutes and then we'll start, right? I'm just gonna give everybody 2 minutes here, guys. By the way, before I start, in fact, how choppy is the screen for you on this? Is it very choppy when I play this?
I think it's fine.
Fine? One way to play.
Perfect.
My screen, this.
Oh.
Is it choppy or is it fine?
A little choppy, but okay.
Okay. I'll try and make sure I'm showing most of it anyway, but yeah. Yeah, so anybody wants to ask any questions during this, then ask, right? I'm gonna go over mainly the straitjacket stuff today, and I'm gonna go over so Eddie Cummings had a bit of a different approach from straitjacket that I don't think a lot of people have seen before. So I'm gonna show that because yeah, he just had different ideas and stuff. This is because it came from one of my good friends that trains at Henzo's, Rob Deagle. He was talking to me about it. Eddie Cummings was very, very against like anybody being able to do anything. Like he hated anything that had counters, and I'll show you what he. It was a very minor weakness in the straitjacket system, but it was still a small weakness that he didn't like. So we'll go over it. But mostly I'm going to show Gordon Ryan stuff today because Gordon Ryan's basically the king of straitjacket, and I'm going to show you some sequences he like fails when he's very young, and then we'll go over the good finishes as well. Okay, I'm gonna let videos play a bit more this time and less pausing and stopping, just so you can see what's going on. And if you want me to re-go over it or be a bit more stoppy about it, then just tell me and ask me questions. All right. Let me start. Okay, so everybody can see my screen, yeah? Okay, cool. All right, so this is Gordon Ryan's first like big stage performance at EBI 6. All right, it's on the screen. EBI 6, and this was when he was 20. This was like his first like big tournament. Basically, he was already winning quite a lot of competitions at this point, but I think this was like just as he got his black belt, and yeah, he goes on to win this whole tournament. But I'm not gonna show every single match. I'm just gonna show some of the back finishes. Okay, so Jacqueline Flynn in this sequence here, we're gonna watch. Okay, Gordon Ryan basically never gets his back escape, back control escape very often, and this is like this sequence here shows one of the main ways you're going to be able to escape back control here. Okay, so you see here, Jacqueline. You see how here Gordon's been very loose with his right foot, and this is going to allow Jacqueline to not in this bit here, but in a few moments later, he's going to be able to escape his hips from Gordon's control. The main way you're going to be able to escape back control in a very like large conceptual way is like you either need to get your shoulders to the mat and then get your hips out, or the opposite. You want to get your hips out to the mats first and then get your shoulders out. You see how Jacqueline got his hips out then and then his shoulders out? I'll go back quickly. One more. Okay, so on my back a bit. So you see how Gordon's very loose with his bottom leg here. Go back one more. So he's very loose with his right leg. And now Jacqueline's going to step his hips over. Now his hips are free. And as soon as his hips are free, his shoulders are free to hit the mats. And now Gordon's lost control. Unfortunately, in this position, he could have still escaped, but Gordon's lucky enough to get a hook back in and regain control here. And now he goes back to attacking. I'm pretty sure Jacqueline re-escapes this as well. Okay, this happens again later on, okay? So he's too loose with his right foot. Jacqueline sits over. He gets the choke. Jacqueline's able to continue turning out. Flexes for the camera. But he's still able to turn his hips to the floor. And because Gordon's going for the choke at this point, he has no more control of the shoulders, okay? The reason you're using seatbelt is because, okay, let me show you this quickly first. the reason we go for seatbelt, okay, is our bottom hands, okay, are there to control, to stop Will from moving his shoulders from side to side, okay? This is what happens later on with the Eddie Cummings sequence, is he hates the fact that in straitjacket, your shoulders can turn from side to side, okay? So, one arm in seatbelt is always stopping the person from turning, and your other hand is on top to allow you to choke them, okay? If both of my hands are underneath, I have perfect control of the person, okay? The guy can't turn out. But the problem in this position is I can't choke him. Both my hands are under his armpit, I can't choke him. If I wanted to hold the person forever, Will forever, I just keep both my hooks in, keep Will in a body lock, and he wouldn't be able to escape, okay? But I have no chance of choking him, okay? And vice versa, if both my hands are on top of Will, okay, I can begin to choke him, but I have no control of his shoulder line. If he just turns into me now, yeah, it's just super easy for him to turn in. That's why we play the seatbelt, okay? Because that means we have the best of both worlds, basically. I have this hand to control him, so if he starts trying to turn away from me or into me, I can stop him, okay? And I have this hand now to choke. You'll see a lot of crazy scenarios, like in this sequence here, where people completely lock in a rear naked choke, but maybe don't have good hooks, and the guy can still turn his shoulders, okay? You see how Will can still turn his shoulders? So this is what happens in this sequence here, is Gordon fully locks in a rear naked choke, but Jacqueline's able to turn his shoulders away, okay? To continue to turn his shoulders, sorry. Perfect scenario, perfect thing from Gordon, gets back. Now Gordon's going to go back to the straight jacket. Oh no, he's not. He's going to go for a sequence. I'll go back to the. I'll go to the finish. Okay, this is. This is a good showing of got attacking legs and then people exposing their back as well. So look, because he wants to defend the leg lock, he exposes his back. Gordon takes his back, rolls. Chair sits, takes his back. He's already got the choking now. And now Jacqueline's going to try and do the same thing he did before, but at this point it's too deep. He gets choked out. Okay. Yeah. Now I'm going to show another sequence, okay? Unfortunately, Fight Pass is absolutely trash at letting me go to stuff, back to stuff.
EBI final. He will try to cap.
So one of the reason why I wanted to show you this match here, okay, is another major part of the straitjacket system, and one of the things that was kind of like at the time newer, in my opinion now, like if you don't know this, you definitely should know this, okay? Like there was a distinctive idea about a good side and a bad side to be on in back control, okay? People used to think that if you had your choking hand closest to the mat, it was therefore easier for you to lock your choke in because they used to just think because there's no obstruction with your second arm, it's easier for me to shoot my hand through and lock up the choke. The reason this is bad is exactly what we were talking about earlier with the last match, okay? If I have my choking hand closest to the mat, it allows Will much easier to turn his shoulders down to the mat. So, for instance, in this scenario, I have my choking hand. It may be easy for me to get a grip of his neck, but it's very easy for Will to bring his shoulders to the mat now. You see? And now, even if I had good hooks in, now, his shoulders to the mat makes it a lot easier for him to push off my legs now and escape completely. All right? And like just to show you what Jacqueline did in the opposite kind of scenario, if I had weak hooks like Jacqueline just did in that last match, Will would just push my bottom leg, get his leg over, bring his hips off, and now his shoulders to the mat and he escapes, okay? That's one of the major problems with having your choking hand lowest to the mat, okay? The straight jacket, or what they made a lot more popular, is you always want your underhooking hand underneath the hand that goes underneath the armpit, sorry, is always the one that's going to be closest to the ground. Because if my hand's underneath now, if Will tries to bring his shoulders to the mat, it's very, very hard, okay? Also, another part of this is it's not just my arm being underneath his armpit, it's my head being underneath his head as well. If he tries to bring his head to the mat and his shoulders to the mat, very, very hard, okay? Like, the main reason he can get his shoulders to the mat here is because he can bring his head to the mat first, then his shoulders, and get out, okay? Whereas, when I have this position, and my head's underneath his, it's very hard for him to do that. There is some scenarios now where Will can beat my head if his head comes to this side, and I still have my underhook. It's still possible now for Will to bring his head to the mat, his shoulders to the mat, and start escaping, okay? Can everybody hear me, by the way, still? I'm not really quiet, anything. Yeah, cool. Okay. So that's one of the main things you're trying to get when you're getting back control is you always want your underhooking arm closest to the mat to go for chokes, okay? And also the other reason this is a better position is it gives you the ability to trap arms, okay? If I'm in this, let me just play this sequence first and then I'll show you, okay? He has a long battle with Goncalves. You see how his underhooking arm now is his underhooking arm is underneath Goncalves. Sometimes he comes to roll him up to turtle to get a choking hand in, but he's always making sure if he rolls back, his hand comes underneath. Look, he's not going to do this shit. So look, he's going to come back on his elbow and he's going to shoot his hand underneath to get the underhook again. He's going for the choke here, sorry. Oh, I got it. Yeah, earlier sequence where he does this. Is it choppy for you guys? It's kind of choppy for me. Yeah, sorry. Let me go to the last Gordon Ryan sequence, okay? Gordon. It's not to say, by the way, that it's completely wrong to go for that normal this position here. Okay. Not to say it's completely wrong to go to your underhooking side. Just know, like this, like for instance, Gordon Ryan in that scenario, he still was able to punch his hand through and get the choke. So you're still going to be able to get it. If you're going to try and go for a more controlled game, it's always going to be better to get your roll to your underhook side first. Okay. And there is only one. There's what I'm going to show now is him versus Wagner Hoscher. Yeah, this is one of the only scenarios where it's kind of okay for you to roll to the choking hand on this side. Okay, and that is when you've already trapped the arm. Okay, when you've already trapped the arm, that is when you can go to a scenario where you're rolling onto your side. Okay, after this match, I'm going to show all the sequences quickly, and then I'm going to show Eddie Cummings. Okay, so you'll get to see a lot. You'll get to see me showing the techniques quickly. So. This one. I don't know why my computer's being so laggy, but oh, let's go back a bit. So, all right, Gordon's going to get his back. I'm less on showing back takes today. I'll show some in another time. But okay, so you see now Gordon's trapped Wagner's top arm now. Okay, he's trapped his top arm. He's finding it kind of hard to dig for the choke in this point. Sorry, my computer's being really slow. So look, he's trapped his arm basically, and now look, he's going to roll to the choking hand that side now because it's okay in this scenario because he's already trapped the arm. Okay, he's already beating him in this scenario. Now he's going to switch off, and he's basically going to get a mandible choke, which I'm going to show as well. Okay, but you see how his bottom arm's trapped, so it's okay for Gordon to be on this side now. Now he shoots his hand deep through, and he catches the choke. Okay. Sorry, my computer's being laggy, but that was okay. Right. I'm going to show you some of the stuff that's going on here. Okay, now. Okay. Right. So. Let me just show you first a very, very simple sequence from this underhook control. In the straight. Okay. So, in the straight, can everybody see me? Yeah, okay. So, in this position now, okay, in the straight jacket system, we've got two major kind of grips we can get. Okay, one of them is straight grips. Okay, a straight grip would be my right hand is going to control Will's right hand. Okay, which is an easier kind of grip to get, but they're not as strong as cross grips. Okay, and cross grips are if I was controlling Will's right hand with my left hand. Okay, when you're in these positions, the main thing we're looking for is I always want control of his bottom arm, his top arm. Sorry, the arm that's closest to the ceiling. I'm never going to be able to trap Will's bottom hand here. Okay, my leg is next to the floor. I cannot throw my left leg over his left arm. Yeah. So I'm always the major thing I'm always trying to control is always going to be his arm closest to the ceiling, because this is the arm I can always come over, trap, and go for my chokes. Okay. When you're in back control, you've always got to think that I have two weapons. I've got two things to attack with versus his three things to defend with. Okay. I have both my arms to attack with. Will has both his arms and his neck. Okay. So we always are at a disadvantage on the finish. Okay. We always want to even that out. So when I'm trapping my one arm now, it's very, very easy for me. Then I can control his other hand with my hand. Now I have my one mode of attack versus his one defense. I still am going to have to fight through if he's tucking his neck, digging his neck, and finishing with one hand. Okay. So I always have my two things to attack with versus his three things to defend with. All right. So I'm just going to show I'm going to show the sequences from double straights first because it's easier to get to, and then I'm going to show you cross grips. Okay. And there's loads of little intricacies and there's loads of different things you can play with that are going to be you switching from straight grips to cross grips. Okay. For instance, if I have straight grips here, I go for a choke. Will can try and fight them off. I come underneath with my free hand, and now I have a cross grip. Okay. There's loads of different ways I can work for this. There's loads and loads and loads. Okay. I'm just going to show two straight sequences where I basically get what I want straight away. Okay. So I'll start with the straight grip because it's easier to get. Usually, if I have the seatbelt, it's going to be easy for me to go straight grip and straight grip here. Okay. So main thing I'm trying to do is I'm going to be trying to trap this arm. Okay. You can be triangling your legs. I have fairly long legs, so it's easier for me to do this. You can also have normal hooks in if you have shorter legs. My preference from here isn't even a perfect triangle. It's usually going to be foot on foot like this. Okay. Eddie Cummings used to do stuff where he would trap the guy's arm in between his leg and his elbow. You see how Will's kind of got his top arm trapped here? Okay, the sequences from there. I'm not going to show those today. But the reason I like this foot on foot position is when I'm throwing my leg over to control his arm, it's going to be a lot easier and a lot less space for my leg to travel to just bring my leg in. Yeah. If my leg's already triangled all the way here, throwing it all the way up is going to take a longer period of time than if I just went like this. Okay. So I'm getting my double straights. My main aim now is to hit my wrist with my heel. Okay. I don't want to throw my leg over my own wrist because I'll trap my arm and then I have to pull my arm out, and there's going to be scenarios now if I'm pulling my arm out, he can also bring his arm out. Okay, so I always want to throw my leg over like I'm going to try and hit my wrist, but inside this gap. Okay, and now when I want to pin his arm, if I have shorter legs, I can just cross my feet. Okay, I know people tell you not to cross your feet, and you shouldn't cross your feet if you're in normal positions. But when I'm here, when I'm crossing my feet, my feet should be crossed over Will's hip. Okay, my feet aren't crossed inside of his legs, so he can push my legs down and footlock me. It's all the way up close to his hip. Now, if he tries to throw his legs over, he can't. Okay, he can't do it from this position. Just don't make sure they're not being lazy and inside of his legs. Make sure if you're crossing your legs, they're up close to his hip like this. Okay. Obviously, you need to be very, very hard. You need to be backing quite hard in these positions. And some people are going to be flexible enough to pull their arm out. Not flexible enough, sorry. Sometimes because this isn't as tight as the other scenario I'm going to show, it's easier for them to pull their elbow out. Okay. This is how in the first video I showed of Gordon versus Jacqueline Quinn, he finishes him like this. He has the leg backfield like this, and Jacqueline's trying to fight the bottom hand, and as he's fighting bottom leg, sorry, and as he's fighting the bottom leg, Gordon finishes him like this. Okay. What I do, because I have slightly longer legs, or even if you have like moderately normal sized legs, yeah, I can go. If I'm going against a bigger opponent as well, this is what I do, okay? Because I won't be able to do the next sequence on someone that's a lot bigger than me. My perfect case scenario, the thing I usually want to do in this position is I want to get my shoelaces of this foot and I want to bring it back, and the shoelaces of my feet are going to be on his spine. It's a lot harder now for Will to pull his elbow out. Very, very hard for him to bring his elbow out. And now I can go for my chokes and finishes. Okay? And next, getting absolutely massacred. Right. I'll show you that sequence one more time, very in a bit more of a faster motion. Okay? So I've got my back control. I can have a body triangle. Okay? Foot on foot. Okay? My head's underneath his head. My underhook arm's next to the floor. Okay? I never want him to get to a scenario where his head's underneath mine. If this ever happens, then I'll immediately look to grab his head, pull it to the opposite side, and be back in this position, okay? And I always want to be lined up, spine to spine, chest to back, as close as possible, okay? So, a bit quicker version this time. I got double straights, I pull my arm down, I throw my leg over, and I catch, okay? Now I can either cross my feet next to his hip, or I can pull my leg behind and go shoelaces to the spine. And people who have ridiculously long legs, like Gordon Ryan, you can even body triangle completely over the guy's arm. Like, this is very, very hard to do. You have to be quite long-limbed to do this, but this is also possible, okay? So, the main weaknesses now we have from, well, not main weaknesses, the reason why we prefer to get cross grips is it's a lot easier to control the guy's arm, okay? So, when I'm in cross grips, here, right? When I go to cross grips, so I have my left hand controlling his right hand, and my right hand controlling his left hand. Remember, just this arm is less important. It's always the top arm that I'm controlling. I could just finish these sequences by attacking his neck and throwing my leg over first. Okay? So just remember, this is the more important arm. The reason why it's better for me to get cross grips is, number one, it's harder for Will to pull out of my grips, okay? Whenever I have a grip, okay, the weakness of my grip is always going to be where it opens, okay? So when I'm gripping, where my thumb and my fingers meet is going to be the direction you're going to usually pull out of. So when I have straight grips, if Will pulls his arm down, it's very easy for him to get out. Okay, pull it very towards your hip, like that. It's very easy for him to get out, okay? Cross grips, it usually works against us. If he tries to pull his hands to the side, it creates like this. It creates more of a knot motion where he can't pull his arms out. It's easier in these straight grips for him to pull his elbow away and get out, okay? Where this, it basically adds tension when I have my cross grip, okay? Second reason why it's better to have cross grips is when I'm throwing my leg over, you see how much more space I have to hit, okay? With my cross grip, it's this tiny triangle I have to throw my legs in. When I have my cross grip, I have this huge, massive space where I can throw my legs over. You see? Those are the main two advantages I have. I have a stronger grip here, and it's also much easier for me to throw my leg in, okay? One thing that I don't think is taught on any of the straight jacket DVDs is to get a much tighter grip, okay? There's always situations, especially when we're slippy, when I throw my leg in, it might be easy for Will to pull his arm out into that gap and escape his arm, okay? So a tighter way to do this is as I have this grip, I throw my leg over, and then I actively pull his arm over my leg, and I flare my toes. Okay. Now I have a lot stronger grip to his arm. As I let go, if he tries to pull his arm out, it's a lot harder. Okay. And now I can go to the same sequences we just went over, where it's ankle to ankle next to the hip, or I can go shoelaces to spine and do my finishes. Okay. I'll show that one more time, and I'll go over the finishes quickly. Okay. So we're here. Okay. I pull to my side. I get my cross grips. Okay. An easy way to get cross grips would be I have my straight grips, I go for my choke, Will defends, and as he defends, look, I'm going to switch my bottom arm underneath in between our arms and get one of my cross grips. And then I can go for my choke. If he fights, I can grab this arm, or if he tries to fight the grip, I can also break it off. Okay? Now I just do the same sequences. I throw into space, ankle to ankle, shoelaces to spine, or I can do my body triangle, okay? Any of those sequences. Okay. Now, let's get close to that. Okay. Close with it. Okay, so let me just go over the finishing of the rear naked choke. Okay. So when I'm finishing a rear naked choke, it's not about how big my biceps are, obviously, because I'm basically a skeleton. All right. So from this scenario, yeah, whenever I'm going for my choke, whenever I'm punching the hand in, by the way, usually my top arm is always looking, my choking arm, sorry, is always looking to grab his trap, okay? Unfortunately, most of you don't have partners to drill this on, but they're on the shoulder bone. This is where I'm trying to get my fingers in, okay? You should be able to feel like a blade on your back where you can stick your fingers in. What you're trying to do in this scenario is you're not going to make a C grip. You're going to make a J grip with your hand, like so not like a cupping kind of grip. You're making like a straight kind of palm, and then your fingers are kind of pointing out here. What I'm doing in this scenario is I'm bringing my hand through, and what I'm trying to get is my fingers into that divot on the back and clamping in. Okay. When I'm finishing with one hand, okay, you're still trying to do this motion when you do two hands. Okay. It's very, very useful skill to you to be able to finish with one hand, okay? And I'll show you the reason being when you see Eddie Cummings finish one of his chokes later on, it's easier it's much more control over the person when you can finish with one arm, okay? So when I'm finishing, the motion's going to be me lifting my arm up, okay, my elbow up, sorry. I'm lifting my elbow up and I'm trying to pull my elbow over his shoulder, okay? So the motion is I'm lifting my elbow up and I'm pulling over his shoulder. The guy will always tap out before this happens, or go unconscious. Okay, because when I'm bringing my elbow up, making a smaller hole. Okay, the main thing I'm doing here is I'm trying to create a very, very small gap with my arm. Okay, it's exactly the same thing I would be doing if I had two arms. Okay, when I'm shooting my second arm in, I'm never grabbing my bicep. Because we'll just grab my arm like this. Okay, so what I do when I'm shooting my second arm through is my palm will go over my knuckles like this, and I'll shoot my hand up behind his head as I grab my bicep like this. I'll never grab my bicep and then try and bring my arm over the back, because we'll always grab my arm first. So what I do in this scenario is I always call it knuckle over knuckle, yeah? My knuckles are going to go over my own knuckles and then grab my bicep. Okay, so I'm here, knuckle over knuckle, grab my bicep. And now it should be the same motion. I'm not going to be able to create enough force of me pushing my hand down the back of his head to choke him. It's always going to be the motion of me bringing my elbow up and behind his shoulder. So as I get my choke up and behind his shoulder, and that's how I get my finish. This is exactly how Gordon gets all of his finishes that look really, really nasty and gnarly. When people bring their chins over, he still gets underneath their nose, but he's still doing that motion now of bringing his elbow up and pulling back. You're still going to get good finishes there, okay? But that's the motion. It's not about how hard you can squeeze, because it's not. It's always going to be more about leverage, okay? I'm going to stop choking without now because it's going to get sad. Okay? So let me show you one of the reasons why Eddie Cummings didn't like this position. He did not like it, bear that in mind, okay? Because in this sequence you're going to see him use it. The interesting thing about him using it in this sequence is because the thing that he didn't like happening actually happens, but he still finishes the guy. Okay, let me get this match up for you. Wait a minute, did I still have my screen on? Or should have stopped sharing? Oh no, sorry, my screen sharing. Back to EBO. Okay.
Once you get the hold of that lag.
Okay. So I'll show you the main thing that Eddie Cummings didn't like from the straitjacket is when you eventually trap the arm, the person can move their shoulder. Okay. So I'll show it after. But what happens is when you get the straitjacket position, you trap the arm. If you lose the control of the shoulder, or you get too low of a control on the arm, it's possible for the person to start turning their shoulders. And we're back to the scenario now where the person can move their shoulders, therefore start to move towards getting into the back and escape. Okay. And it happens in this because Sergio Hernandez is very, very flexible. He's able to turn his shoulder and start moving his shoulders. So the reason Eddie didn't like it is when you eventually trap the arm, there's still possibility for shoulder rotation. Okay, a bit like before. But so what Eddie used to do, which I'll show in a bit, is he does this variation of a harness. You see this position here? He's got his underhook control and he shoots his hand through to the other side. So what Eddie used to do first, before he went to straitjacket, he would have his underhook arm really tight through, like he's almost grabbing their neck, and his other hand would come over and grab the guy's shoulder. So he had this almost harness position. It's if I had my hooks in as well, it's very, very hard for Wolf to turn either way now. Okay? And what he would do from here, instead of trying to move his arms about, he would consistently try and jab his hand underneath until he'd get a grip, and then he would finish from here with one hand. Because he was very good at finishing one-handed chokes. And now I can go back to the same sequence of bring my elbow up and finishing, if I wanted to, which he doesn't usually, is bring the second arm out. Okay? But he'll get this harness position first, which would be this hand's deep, trying to grab the trap. Most people are going to tuck their chin, and he would work a kind of motion of raising his elbow until he could get his arm underneath. In this situation, he doesn't manage to do it. He traps the arm first, but it allows him to be able to keep a very good strong grip of the guy's shoulder line and of the guy's hip line. I'll just let this play because it's a nice sequence. It's not laggy or anything, yeah? Okay, good. So you see here, you see how Sergio can almost twist the top of his torso. The bottom and the top of the torso is twisting. Eddie Cummings was just too good. And you also see how Eddie's doing his foot to the spine, like I showed earlier. He's doing the exact sequence. Okay. Yeah. So no, he's going back to the harness again now. He's trapped the guy's arm and he's going back to that same position. Now he manages to cut underneath his neck. See, if Sergio's arm escaped in this scenario, he would have been out, which is what Eddie was usually worried about in these situations, that the person could turn their shoulders so much so that they could basically limp arm their way out. They're still in a horrible position, like this is an awful position to be in, but there were still situations where maybe the guy could limp arm out. Yeah. So he's getting one hand underneath. So he's lifting his elbow and arms. This is a horrible camera angle. Yeah, he gets to finish there. Okay. I'll just go over what he's doing in this situation quickly, and then we'll stop. You got enough time? Okay. So let me just show you that sequence, and then if you got any questions, ask me as well. Okay. I'm just gonna finish the sequence, and we'll go over it. What Eddie would want to do in these situations is he's still doing the same thing as we were talking about. So Eddie's still doing everything we wanted to before. Okay, he still is on the underhook side, and his head is still underneath Sergio Hernandez's head. Okay, but in this position, he's trying to get his bottom arm up, controlling the shoulder, and his other hand over and grabbing the shoulder like this. Okay, he can also work from this position. He was finding it too hot. Sergio was too good at tucking his chin, so he couldn't lift it up. That's my cat. He couldn't lift it up and get underneath the neck. So what he did was he switched back to those cross grips. He threw over, and he got shoulder shoelaces to spine. Sergio was tight enough now. Where you see, we get back to the same scenario now where this will now, because I don't have very good control of his shoulder arm, he can turn his shoulders like this. Okay, you see how he can start turning out? And if I wasn't tight, like luckily Eddie Cummings is super tight, there is some scenarios where he can limp my arm out and he can start turning to face towards me, and we're back in kind of a closed guard situation. Okay, that's what Eddie didn't like when he retrapped the arm. But it's a very, very minor situation. Okay, it's still a very, very strong position. Okay, so he worked with this. Then he went back to the harness, and then he went to choke, and he got the finish one-handed. He lifted his elbow up and got the finish. Okay, a simpler version of this, which one of my friends in America showed me, is say we're starting an EBI overtime, which happens a lot in this, or say maybe the guy is just absolutely trying to spaz out, spin as fast as he can out of your back control. A good way to control them that's not as crazy as this, like cross up here, cross over here. Okay, a nice easy way to do this. This is also what I do when I'm on the wrong side, and I'll show you in a second. But I'll always kind of shoot my arm really deep through. I can grab the top of my hand like in a ball and socket kind of grip over the top, and I'll pull my arm all the way over, so my fist is basically on Will's shoulder like this. Okay, I can't choke him from here, even if I didn't have his arm. Sorry, I can't choke him from here. But if Will tries to turn any direction now, it's very, very, very hard. Okay. This is what I do when I'm in the other position like this. So if I'm ever in that position, which we don't really want, which is my hand underneath his neck and the choking hands close to the floor, this is what I'll do to stop him from turning out. I'll usually do the same thing I just showed. I'll bring my hand basically as deep as I can to his armpit, and I'm basically making, instead of me having like something to wedge underneath him, just my bicep wedged underneath him, I'll bring it so full through that basically I have my shoulder wedged underneath his head. Now if he tries to bring his back to the mat, it's very, very hard. See how my hand comes all the way through underneath his armpit, then I'm grabbing the top of my hand, and then I'm basically putting my elbow in and keeping a good pinch. Now if Will tries to turn anyway, it's very hard. I can't choke from here, unfortunately, but there is we can switch off. Like for instance, my hand's hidden now, so he can't fight my choking hand. If he tries to really pull his elbow down, I could bring my hand out and go to the choke and go to the finish. Okay. I also go to this position, and then whenever I'm usually going to this position, I'm usually working to. I'll bring my hand as tight as possible, try and grab his lat. Now I have my free hand. I'll come over the top, grab the crown of his head, pull, and get underneath his head. Then my hand can come back underneath, grab his wrist, lift, come underneath, and now we can start working back to the position we want to be in. Okay. Does anybody have any questions before we go on anything? You don't have to necessarily be on back control.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think it's worth getting good at like finishing with both arms from the back, or if you ever end up in a situation when you?
So, that's a good question. I think it's definitely useful getting good at both arms. It's also useful to be able to be good at switching from side to side, from like with chair sits and stuff. Or it might be easier for you if you're struggling with finishing one hand to start working to go for triangles. Maybe you feel like you're squeezing as good on your right hand. Like, so for instance, the scenario you can have is you don't feel like you're very good at choking with your right hand. Okay, I feel like I have a good choke with my right hand, but maybe you feel like you don't. Okay, some scenarios maybe I feel like, okay, I don't really believe in my right-handed choke. Then I can still work to trap the arm. Okay, and now instead of going for my choke, I can work for triangles instead, going for a different basically submission. It's the same with passing. Like most people are going to be weak on their passing to their left side, left side or right side? Right. Yeah, passing to their right side. So Marcelo Garcia, for instance, is a perfect scenario showing of this. He'll have different passes for different sides. Okay, so maybe I feel like one of my sides isn't as good. I definitely work on going for the choke, but I could also work to go, instead of going for my RNC, I can work off and start lifting and start going for the triangle scenarios and start going for arm bars, back triangles that are really strong. Yeah, you should definitely be working your chokes all the time. Okay.
Very cool. Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah. Any other questions? I'll definitely go over. I was going to go over back triangles today, but we kind of ran out of time, so I'll show them probably on another time. Okay.
So with this kind of thing in falling in your strong side and falling on your kind of weak side, I know you've kind of explained it for Nogi, but I'm more of a gi player, and so does that kind of translate over to gi as well, or is it?
I'm not the 100% the best person to ask. There's definitely other people to ask for that question, but still, I'd imagine, unless there's something I don't know, there's definitely it's definitely going to be, if you're trying to control someone, it's always going to be stronger to control the side, because you never want, like in gi, I'd imagine, even if you're still getting collar grips and stuff like that, if we're on this side and I'm getting them and he brings his shoulders to the mat, I'm definitely going to be losing my chokes. Okay. One other thing, just as a quick sequence I'll show you now as well. If I'm pretty sure this happens quite a lot in gi as well. So any time when a guy, you feel like you're going to lose a hook, okay, or maybe you want to go and sit to the other side or get a reset to get to a better control. If he ever kills my hook, yeah, or I can even just feel like I can even just put it down myself and bait him to sit over. Okay, what I can do now is my second foot goes to his spine, okay, and I can keep even if he was still in control. Yeah, I can even force him over by my second leg comes to his spine and I kick him over. Now I can base on my head, bring my knee up to his back, run my leg over, and now I'm gonna rock. This is what Gordon was doing in the Jackson match. Now I can rock to my other hip, and now I'm on my other side. You see? So I can always be switching like this, and I can continue. This is a good drill to do, to continuously switch from side to side, sitting up, going from one side. Now I can bring my leg out, kick him over, sit up, to the other side. I can just continuously work. I've definitely seen people do that from in gi as well when they're trying to reset. Okay.
Cool. Thank you.
Any more questions? Okay. If anybody has anything they want me to go over, even if it's their matches or they just want me to go over any sequence, anything, just let me know, and I'll try and plan it out for next Wednesday. I think Max is doing the Saturdays now. I might get another Saturday class, but I think it's better if I just have one class per week, because I can really focus on one thing and have like a bigger kind of showing of everything. Okay? Cool?
Thanks,
Right,
man. Thank you.
next
Thank
Wednesday, 7 o'clock again, all right? See you
Awesome.
guys later.
See ya. Bye.
Cheers.
Thanks,
Yeah,
man.
bye.
All right.